Okay, cue musical intro. Boy, that's brilliant. I do think some things in the world are real. Like you guys. You guys are real. Most of you. Most of my listeners, I think, are not just in my head. I think I have the metrics to prove it. You've taken a leap of faith today. What is that sound? And I apologize if you take offense. I'm a little offended myself. Welcome to our show. Welcome to the future. What it is, joining you live from sunny California. It's a beautiful day today. I'm your host, Nathan Stoltman. And I bring you the news, the real news. Yes, that is correct. I'm already having audio issues with this stream, so forgive me, people on YouTube and these platforms. Let me get myself adjusted here. We are here live on YouTube, which we are blessed to be able to do, lucky to be able to do, sitting on 2 strikes, 1 away from permanent deletion. But this, strangely enough, is a topic that YouTube doesn't ban, I think, even though that it really deals with the real stuff that people need to know about. And so let me tell you guys what we have in store today. I was contacted by this person I have on a Zoom call with me right now, who will not be revealing his full name, image, and identity, but who told me that he was initiated to OTO, Ordo Templi Orientis. Did I even say it right? We're gonna learn about that today too. Yeah, I got it right. Ordo Templi Orientis. So, and I said, oh, really? All right. Well, if I'm not going to know your name, how am I going to find out? I said, do you have any paperwork? He said, yeah, I have some paperwork. I'll send it over. And now I have seen the paperwork, and I have on the phone with me right now live someone who actually has the paperwork for being initiated to the secret society known as Ordo Templi Orientis, or OTO. And I want to learn all about it. I figured be somebody really interesting to talk to about it. So I have Katie here with me, and we will also be taking phone calls later on in the show for our guests. So thanks for joining me. All right. Now, you, sir, New York Patriot. Is that what I call you today?
Yes, that is fine.
All right. Let me get your volume right. Hey, thanks for joining me, and thanks for reaching out.
Oh, of course. Thanks for having me on the show. It's mind-blowing that I'm even on here.
Wow, it's pretty exciting. You know, I've never spoken with anyone who I've known for a fact was involved in any way. I'm trying to think. Even necessarily, I've spoken to a few Freemasons before, but I've never talked to anybody who was involved in OTO. And so there are a lot of questions to ask about that. The first thing I asked you was if you could talk about it, and if you could talk about it without fear of retaliation. I thought there was some kind of pact of secrecy that you had to sign up for. Is there any risk of you speaking out about your experiences with OTO or your gripe with them?
Not necessarily. I mean, the stuff that I've had sworn secrecy to is so minimal that anything I was to come out and say, beyond that, that's my experiences or that I've seen. I haven't sworn to that yet. So, like, how could you say I shouldn't say it when I haven't told you I wouldn't yet?
Okay, great. So
if that makes any sense, but
yeah, I think so. So you are saying that there are some things that you did swear secrecy to that you will not be talking about with me for that reason. Is that right?
No, I mean, actually, to tell you the truth, I'd probably still tell you most of it anyway.
Really? Well, tell us first, tell us about, like, what is OTO?
Ordo Templi Orientis. It was a secret society that was started in Germany. It was supposed to be kind of like an offshoot of Freemasonry, but with more like a ceremony and ritual magic in it. And eventually, it's funny. I can't remember actually the guy's name who started it before Crowley,
I
but
I have the Wikipedia page pulled up. There were some Germans involved early on.
yes,
Karl Kellner.
Yes, Kellner, yeah.
So what? He's the first guy that got it started.
Yeah, him and I think a few other people. And then once he read Crowley's Book of the Law, he had assumed that he knew the secrets of secrets and the mysteries of mysteries, and asked him to come on. And eventually, he got it handed over to him.
Aleister Crowley did.
Yes, yes.
So, what made you interested in OTO, or when did it first come on your radar?
Well, I guess as a kid and as just growing up in general, I had always believed that there was probably some truth behind witchcraft and magic. And yeah, I never really checked into it or really, got too far with that stuff. I had some friends that practiced it, and I seemed to believe it was real. And then I guess I'd have to say probably like my later 30s. I guess I just kind of like I took the red pill and started going down the rabbit hole, and started seeing a lot of this stuff all does, in my opinion, lead back to some sort of type of stuff like this. Or if you go down those rabbit holes, it will take you there.
So you had some
So,
friends practicing, you said? What do you
well,
mean by
when I
that?
was younger, like witchcraft stuff, witches, your teens, I couldn't tell you if it was real or not, but at the
Well,
time, I believed it to be.
what kind of things are you talking about? I mean, what were people messing around with?
No, I couldn't even tell you exactly what they were doing. I mean, I knew that there were witches. It was someone I went to school with that was pretty open about being in Wicca, and she had other friends that I was friends with that were into it. I mean, I know one time she made like a love spell on an apple. I mean, that's the only
A,
basic stuff like that.
a love spell on an apple? So what would that be? What would that involve?
If the person ate the apple, supposedly, that you wanted to fall in love with you.
Okay, and did they follow through with it and make it happen?
I have no idea. I mean, to be totally honest with you, that's something I don't even know. I myself, I wouldn't even be bothered doing something like that, because you're kind of messing with like somebody else's will. I mean,
Right.
it's just yeah.
So where did you get the idea then that magic worked, or that there was something to it?
Well, like I had, I mean, like I honestly believed once I started getting into conspiracy stuff that like the world was kind of run by or influenced by these things.
These things being
Like the secret societies, Freemasons, OTO, other the Rosicrucians, other secret societies that are based on the Kabbalah. I would probably assume, that's what I was assuming, that they were into this type of, that they were responsible for a lot of stuff going on in the world.
why did you think that?
I guess just from watching, I get tons and tons of videos on YouTube.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's
and,
interesting.
and then eventually it took me to it originally took me to I started following down Crowley's stuff. Now, like, he was a person that I had even heard about as a kid. I didn't know, it may not have, the stuff I heard then may not even have been true, but you'd always heard like he was the evilest man in the world. He called himself the Beast 666. So in my head, this guy was already the Antichrist when I was younger, so I never really looked into him. But then once I started to believe that this stuff was real, I mean, as silly as this sounds, I kind of started digging into it more, because I was like, if I can learn about it and maybe like know how to practice it myself, maybe I can kind of like remove myself from like the matrix, if you want to call it like that, or something, or protect myself, or at least know how to work around it.
Mm-hmm. And so I'm trying to get the idea, besides watching stuff on YouTube, where
Yeah.
did you get the idea that magic is real? Did you have any experience with it yourself, or did you see someone practice magic and actually have something real happen as a result of it? Or I'm trying to get that exact thing. Like, where did
They
you?
really, I'm being like so honest. It really was just from getting into conspiracy theories and actually just seeing like things connecting dots, and you were just like, something's got to be up with this. Like, what is this stuff?
Give me an example of what you mean then for how you
I mean,
thought.
I think that the Twin Towers back then I thought were I thought that had something to do with it. It was like, in my opinion, I had believed it was like kind of like a sacrificial type thing, which is something I can actually get into in the show later on.
Sure. Or, yeah. So you believe then, so you're looking into 9/11. You think nine
Yeah, and you
11's
know what? Another big person. Actually, this is probably what really actually made me think that this stuff might be real. And I hate to be plugging somebody else on your show,
That's
but
okay.
David Icke stuff really
Mm-hmm.
got me into thinking that this stuff was real.
Mm-hmm. What was it about what David Icke said?
It's just a lot of that. It seemed like all these people that were, high profile people or people in position of power seem to like have ties to these things. So it started to
Mm-hmm.
like make me think like something must be up with this somewhere.
Mm-hmm. And then, so what did that make you do? I mean, did you start trying to
I
mess around?
started looking into like secret societies, and then like I remember that Crowley was big into this stuff. I haven't thought of the guy in it could be 20 years, and then remembered it and started looking into his stuff because when I was seeing this stuff online, kind of going through the rabbit hole, you kind of got the idea that this guy at least was an occult genius, and he
Mm.
seemed to, I guess, know what he was doing to some point. So I was like, well, why don't I just start checking into that stuff? And it's not, believe it or not, it's not that hard to find where these places are and to get in contact with them. It's
You
not hard
mean
at all.
you mean as far as if somebody wanted to join OTO or another secret
Very easy,
society, it would be
extremely
really easy
easy,
to
as long
do.
as there's one near your house.
Yeah, as long as there's one near you, because you actually have to show up in person.
Yeah, well, not right now because of COVID. No, they're doing Zoom meetings. But if that wasn't the situation, yeah, you have to show up in person.
It is funny that OTO is doing Zoom meetings.
Oh, they're horrible.
Just makes
I
me
mean,
laugh.
Zoom meetings are kind of horrible to begin with. So
So you thought, what was it about Aleister Crowley? You say you thought he was some kind of genius with magic.
yeah,
What?
like I figured he was like an occult genius. I didn't agree with a lot. Of, still didn't agree with a lot of the things that he was accused of or supposedly did. But I still was like kind of in awe of like when you start looking at his stuff. I mean, it's almost hard to even understand reading it because I mean he's just so in depth in the words he uses, and it was an old. You have to think too. This was back in the 1900s. People spoke and wrote differently.
Right, right. And so you started, did you start actually reading Aleister Crowley's writings then?
I had checked out his Book of the Law, the Book of Lies, and Nox Pan. I'm saying it wrong, but it's like a book that it's just like stories and poems, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and you could tell they were just very occultish.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't understand half of what I was reading.
So you didn't necessarily understand what you were looking at, but you thought there was some kind of power to it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, I did. Yeah.
And so did you start trying to practice on your own?
Yeah, I went out. It was funny actually. It's funny how I brought her up at the beginning. The girl that I knew in school that made the apple, I contacted on Facebook and asked her if she was still a witch, and she said yeah. And I told her, I said I was kind of interested in in Crowley stuff because it seemed very regimented, or you have like a plan, you have plans of like stuff, suggested stuff to practice. And I asked her if there was like maybe a book she could recommend that wasn't written by him that would be easier to understand.
Mm-hmm.
And she suggested me a book. It was 12 or 13 Lessons in High Magic by Donald Craig.
Mm-hmm.
And I started reading that and practicing out of there. And, then like seeing stuff in that book and then going online and like, he referred to Crowley a few times in there. I would go and see what he was referring to. I'd read that. And then I started looking into, he had a thing called the Astrum Argentum, that's like a real deal secret society that he started. I mean, that you don't even know who's above you. You're talking to somebody on the internet. And then when you go do initiations, you've got a bag over your head. You don't even know where you're going. That's serious. And I was like, yeah, I don't know if I really want to get into that. And then I saw that there was the OTO. And, and this is all just going through YouTube. And I contacted I think I sent a message to one of the people that posted. It was a lodge that posted an OTO video. It was an OTO lodge. It was a camp or a lodge or something, and they do classes and they'll post them sometimes.
So so slow down a second then. So you're saying what are you on Facebook or something, and you're following a lodge
YouTube.
or on
YouTube?
So you're on YouTube and you're seeing you ended up following an account affiliated with an actual Masonic lodge?
Yes, Blazing Star OTO was the exact one that I went to. Because they have tons of stuff on YouTube.
And they talk, and is it actively like a way to recruit people to the OTO?
Well, probably. It worked for me.
Huh. What was appealing to you about it? What were they talking about?
The lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. That's because I was learning that at the time. And I was trying to watch videos about it. And you find a lot of them where it's just like the person doing it and then that's it. They actually had one that was like an hour-long class that like explained to you like how to do it and this and that and how to, do it the correct way. And I was kind of impressed. And so I was like, well, I guess, this is what these lodges do. So I messaged them and asked them if they knew of anything in the state that I was in.
Mm-hmm.
And surprisingly, the person was just like, well, just, he sent me the link. He's like, just go on the site and see if there's one near you. And I was like, wow, it's that easy. I could just have typed in OTO and probably came across it.
Really?
Yeah. And then you can look to see where they are in the country that you're in. And it gives you all the contact information, or like an email. And almost all of them that I've checked, they all have Facebook pages.
Right. And it's supposedly
and they'll even have like a list of what they're doing that month too. I mean, they'll have a calendar up and everything. I mean, it's actually not as secret that way.
Right. Well, that's really interesting. Now, let me go back a second because I'm going to get into the OTO thing because I do want to understand where you got into magic too. So this happened in your 30s, kind of, when you started getting into this?
It was my late. It was. I don't want to get into like my specific age too much.
Yeah, no, I understand. No problem. That's I'm trying to be general. So you started getting into it, and then you read this book that this witch, practicing witch, I guess, referred you to, and you said it had some magic spells in it. And then did you try practicing the spells yourself, or did you try practicing magic yourself?
Magic. Yeah, I mean, kind of. I had to tell you with the rituals in the OTO that, or even in the Golden Dawn that the OTO uses, none of them are actually meant to do anything like that specific. It's just setting up a working area for yourself. So even with me doing the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, I mean, I wasn't really doing magic to change much. It was just basically to remove negative energies from myself and to be balanced.
Okay, right. So you mentioned.
So I actually wasn't really doing spells per se.
Well, some people might say you were.
Yeah.
It was the lesser.
No, I guess
the lesser banishing ritual. And what did the ritual involve?
You have the thing called the Kabbalistic cross. You're gonna say it's almost half of it's in Hebrew and half of it's in English.
Okay.
You make a Kabbalistic cross and say whatever words.
You mean you make a cross? You make some kind of marking on the ground, or
it's you touch the top of your head, and then you bring your hand basically down to your genital area. Then you say another thing there. Then you go to your right shoulder and you go to your left shoulder. With your right hand.
So
like
similar,
drawing a cross on yourself.
Similar to the Christian cross, just maybe a little more.
Yes, and it's almost the same exact lines, pretty much, just in Hebrew and like a little bit less words.
And okay, so let's walk through this ritual.
I mean, I'll even if you want, I could say it real fast and tell you exactly. I mean,
sure, I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, so you
touch your forehead.
Yeah,
and you go ata. To Ata, and then you bring your hand down and you go Malkuth, and then you bring your hand back up and go to your right shoulder, Vegebora, Vegedula, and then you close your hands together and you say Le'olam, Amen.
What does that mean?
To thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory, Amen.
Wow, so it's But Christians do that too, basically, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's very, yeah. That's why I said it's very close.
But it doesn't involve Jesus Christ specifically. It involves something else. I mean,
No, no, they don't. You know, believe it or not, they have. You know, they do have a church, the Gnostic Catholic Church,
right.
that is associated with the OTO. They don't really follow. You know, in any other, even the Golden Dawn really didn't follow. You know, Jesus Christ. They might have Christ ideas, but not per se to like Jesus himself. You know.
Mm-hmm.
And then after I'm done making that cross, then I do start to draw pentagrams in certain directions.
On the ground or on a piece?
No, in the air. You would do it as if you're drawing it like in front of you.
So you draw in front of you a pentagram. What, right side
Yeah, you
up,
start in the
upside
east. You
down,
start
or
in the no, you start in the east, and that's a right side up pentagram.
mm-hmm.
Crowley's other rituals, they're upside down, but this
Hmm.
one they're right side up.
Okay.
You would start in the east, and then you go east, south, yeah, east, south, west, and north.
Mm. So and you draw a pentagram in the air. So you've started off with this ritual, and you draw a pentagram in the air, and then what happens?
Um, then you basically you call the archangels, Raphael, Michael, Gabriel, Uriel. You basically call them down, and they're supposed to be there like as a protection and like to, you know, I guess kind of cleanse your area. And then once you're done calling them down, then you just finish with the cross again, with the Kabbalistic cross.
And this spell of it's like a spell, basically, right? I mean,
Well, I would say, you know, that is going to be the first thing you do before you even get into your spell work. I mean, you
okay,
need to banish your area of all negative influences or whatever you don't want around. That's like it's basically a preliminary ritual before you do anything.
okay, and so you did that, and I don't know. I guess it's hard to know. But did you feel like something happened when you did that? And did you do it with?
Eventually, I started to come on to, at least I, you know, it could have been psychological at the beginning, but at least I felt like more calm, more centered, more balanced. You know, I felt more peaceful.
And did you have any experience before this being Christian or anything?
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
As growing up, I was Christian. Then for a while, I probably would have considered myself an atheist.
Mm-hmm.
And then I kind of got more into spirituality, and then came across this.
And you know, a lot of Christians warn against doing this kind of stuff, basically, right? Because
Oh
they
yeah, you believe in anything besides Jesus Christ, it's Satan. You know?
right, exactly. So what made you just kind of didn't
Oh
believe
well, I
that,
thought
or
Catholicism was a bunch of bullshit.
mm,
That's what I thought.
okay, got it. Sure,
Now I'm not saying I think that now, but I did that. You know.
I see. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. So, and then once you finish up with this minor banishment spell or whatever,
Sorry, the
it
lesser
is,
of my banishing
right?
ritual of the pentagram.
Then do you go on and do something else?
I started to do. There is a simple thing that's actually suggested to start off with. Believe it or not, most people, if they really know what they're doing, and people that are higher up, maybe that have been practicing for a while, they'll tell you when you first start this stuff just to do meditations. And there's a thing called Resh, which is giving like 4 different prayers to the sun throughout the day.
To the
They'll tell
sun,
you to do that for like the first 6 months, and that's it.
right? And they will tell you. You mean like people affiliated with OTO specifically,
Oh
or
yeah,
just
yeah, like yeah, David Shoemaker. If you look him up, guy's got a podcast, got videos all over the place. He's a psychiatrist. He's like somebody out there that, you know, basically like tries to teach you know, people not knowing, I guess.
and so it involves the worship of the sun. You can
Yes,
say, right?
yeah.
And specifically, like, what if somebody brings up Jesus Christ or the Bible or
Um, you know, I've never really I've heard of people at the lodge make fun of it or say that there's certain things like maybe certain styles of magic. Like I think there's like some kind of Pennsylvania Dutch style magic. I forgot what the name of it was, but it's very like centered into Jesus Christ. And I remember that was brought up at the lodge once, and people were like, well, turned off by it because it was too much Jesus in it.
Right, right. So you're saying that people affiliated with OTO, people at the lodge, they're not into Jesus. They think, in fact, it's kind of like a
They think
mockery.
it's like a slave, religion.
Right, right, right.
And the funny thing is that most of them who actually think that are legit slaves themselves, which is what mind blows me.
Right, right. So you've learned more as you've learned more about it, right? So
Yeah.
have you gone back to Christianity more since leaving?
I could tell you Jesus, yes, by
Yes.
far.
Yes. Okay.
Because even with this is the thing that blows my mind is that when you work with the tree of life, the Kabbalah tree of life, that's basically like 90% of ceremony and ritual magic is all based on that, actually.
Okay.
In the center of the tree is, this golden sphere, and that's like where the magician's supposed to like aspire to be. And Christ is known specifically as a symbol for that sphere. Like, if you read books and stuff, they'll bring him up as being like a perfect type of person to fit that experience.
Mm-hmm.
So I just never understood that too. Like, how could you shit talk an idea or a figure, but yet that's kind of what we're supposed to be aiming for, to be like him more.
Right.
Because when you're that balanced, you can actually make changes in your own life and things, easier.
Right. Right.
I
Interesting.
mean, changing the way you think will change the way the world is to begin with.
Is that an idea that is held by these kind of magicians or occultists? Is that idea that if you change the way you think, that you can change the world?
Yeah. So you're something basically to that. I mean, you change who you are, your surroundings will change too.
Right.
The way you look at the way you think, really. If you change that, the world is going to change around you.
Right. Which is true.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, by far. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So now getting back into it, you were looking around, you started tuning into this channel that's affiliated with a lodge. You found out that you can look up OTO events basically on the internet. And so you contacted somebody.
Yes, I contacted the Blazing Star OTO, and then they told me about the website. And I think it was neither the website or the Facebook page. One of them gave me an email, and I think I had checked their calendar and saw that there was a Gnostic Mass coming up soon, and I had asked, I told them I'd be interested in attending. And believe it or not, they emailed me back, I think that day or the next day, and they gave me the address and the time.
And they didn't ask you any questions or anything. They just said,
no.
Right.
No, it's just, I even find it pretty wild, to tell you the truth.
Right. And so you went.
I mean, even back in the day, before they had this lodge, sometimes they would have to do stuff in people's houses. I don't know how you could be comfortable with just anybody showing up. That's just wild.
Right. So so you went to this Gnostic Mass?
Yes.
What happens there?
In my opinion, it's basically explaining, the secrets of secrets. It's mysteries of mysteries. It's showing you, basically, in my opinion, it shows the magician actually crossing the abyss.
The magician crossing the abyss. What does that mean for the rest of us?
The abyss. I mean, that would basically, in my opinion, it's basically kind of like almost like astral travel. You're pretty much almost like leaving your body, really.
And how do they show that? What is it? I guess we're trying to picture what this mass.
Well, the Gnostic
is like.
Mass, and for anybody who wants to see it, you can go on YouTube and watch that one. There's two different ones. One of them will show you with the nudity, and the other one will show you without the nudity.
And
because there is that there too in the Gnostic Mass.
Oh, there is, and the one. Yeah. So you went to one live before COVID.
Yes.
I guess, right?
Oh, years ago. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So
years ago.
So you went to one of these things. They didn't ask you for any information up front. They just gave you an address and a time and told you to show up.
It was a little sketchy though, because like they told me like where to go in the address, but like I had to wait somewhere and somebody to to come and get me. But there was other people there too waiting. So I didn't. But to me, at first, I was like, what am I getting into?
Right, because it is kind of, well, secret in some sense. Is in other
Oh
words.
yeah.
Huh? Was it at a church or what? What at a meeting hall or what?
Well, all right. I'll put it this way: some places might go out and actually just rent a place each time they need it. Some places will have like some camps or oases might be in someone's house. Sometimes a person could change like a 2-car garage into it, or a lot of other ones do like might rent. Believe it or not, have an apartment building. Just like a big, a 2-bedroom thing, or it's like a big open up area. Some of them do that.
Okay. And now you say, so I don't know exactly what it means that they show the magician crossing the abyss. So what do you have? You have naked people and.
Okay. Well, it starts off with the priestess comes out, and then there's two roles.
Is it a priestess always? Is it always a woman or?
There's always a priestess, a priest, a deacon. Now the deacon could be male or female, and I think just recently, they made a kind of another role like that for, I guess, people who consider themselves, non-binary, transgender, whatever these fucking names are. They made a role for that because they were crying that they didn't have, I guess a role for people like that in the mass.
Okay.
Which blows my mind because you signed up and joined knowing that it wasn't, but now since you're a member, you need to complain about it. That just blows my mind. I don't get that.
Right, and that's because in occultism, there are 2 genders usually, right? Male,
exactly.
Female.
Yeah, I mean, some people do. There's certain things in the Kabbalah that would make you think, I guess, there's such things as hermaphrodites, but it's not. No, they just get it twisted.
Interesting. So this is getting
into... and then there's 2 roles, which now looking back at it, I start to question. I don't know why I didn't question it before. There is actually 2 roles called the children, but they're not played by children. They're played by regular members, but they're supposed to be representing children.
Weird.
Yeah. So I mean, the 2 children, basically, what they do, one of them has water and salt. And they follow the priestess, and when she does, cleanses with the salt and water, that child will follow her. And then when she decides to cleanse with the incense, a child would have the incense burner and the incense in one hand and would follow her. And then it's kind of like a huge 40-minute, maybe 30 if they go fast, like a play. Like it's like legit, actually almost like watching a play. And at one point, the priest will take the priestess and put her up on the altar and then leaves. And then there's like blinds or like, curtains that she'll close. And then he'll come down, the deacon will say things, the priest will say things, and then eventually he goes and opens it back up, and then that's when she has no clothes on.
Got it.
Butt ass naked.
And
unfortunately, there's nothing at my lodge I wanted to see naked.
Right. It's not always what it doesn't always live up to expectations, right? So
the first time this happened, I was like, yo, if anything else happens, I'm bolting the fuck out of here.
And everybody else what are people sitting around in chairs?
Yeah. You'll have like chairs or benches on either side of the room. Then people can sit there, and then there's just whoever's in it, who's in the middle of the room.
And is it a bunch of weirdos, or is it just, what do the people like?
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to say, I mean, I've met some pretty like well-balanced people there, but more than half of it really is people that are a little off, people that I would not hang out with outside of it. And I mean, totally honest with you, a lot of them are just straight up leftists too.
Right. Yeah, and I heard you talking about that on that other show.
Oh yeah, it's horrible. It's horrible. It's almost like a breeding ground.
So what are people looking kind of goth or Antifa looking type people or what?
You definitely get the goth. I mean, there's a couple of people that came that looked like they came out of Interview with the Vampire.
Mm-hmm.
They just came right out of that movie. And then, I mean, you'll have, I mean, doctors, lawyers, teachers, psychiatrists. I mean, and then some of the normal people, they'll look normal. They might still be crazy, but those people normally show up like looking like regular people.
Okay, so you have kind of regular people sitting around watching this show, and then do you get some kind of feeling from watching it? I mean, is it an emotional experience or?
Later on for me, once I guess I kind of like the shock of what's going on, or like being used to, you know, being there and not worrying about like, what's going to happen next and this and that. Yeah, eventually, I think once I got out of my own head and I was actually in the experience, yeah, you can feel almost like some kind of energy, or the positive energy, or a cleansing maybe.
So it's a positive.
I mean, you felt better afterwards than I did before.
So it's meant to be like a positive experience for everybody, right?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
And then, do you participate in any of the ritual yourself? Is there any like communion or?
Yes, there is. At the end of it, they will go around the room, and everybody goes up there, and they will get a cake of light, and they will get a glass of wine.
What did you say? A cake of
light.
A cake of light.
Yes, that is their form of a Eucharist.
And what is it?
Oh God, honey meal. There's a bunch of different kind of spices in it. I think cinnamon's in it, melon oil, olive oil, and then to top it off, whoever the priestess is using her menstrual blood in it.
Really?
Yeah, well, that's something I didn't know prior. So
really?
Yep. And if you don't have that, it is suggested, which I would hope to God has never been used on the ones that I've eaten, baby's blood.
Really?
And you could look that up right now on the internet and find that. I'm not making nothing up.
So in the recipe for this version of what the Christians,
I mean, there's more of that in it. There's more stuff in it. I just can't remember everything.
Right. But people are familiar with spirit cooking now with Marina Abramovich. You're talking about actual blood mixed in this, and then that's called for, and you believe that there was probably like menstrual blood, basically, and something that you ate as part of one of these ceremonies.
Oh yeah, I mean,
yeah,
I ate like a couple hundred of them.
Oh wow! Well, you really went to a lot of these different. So you were,
yeah, man. Like I'm like I was a legit. I went a lot.
Wow.
Member,
and so you must have been getting some kind of real positive feedback from, I mean, like spiritually or something else, from participating in this stuff?
I think so. I mean, I started to, I would say so. I mean, at points, and then, it's hard to explain also. There's times when you could be doing stuff that's working, but it may not be feeling it to you because you're just going against still what you were trying to accomplish. Mm-hmm. I could be trying to do work on myself or doing a spell on myself to help me get somewhere, and maybe there's something I need to stop doing that I just, seem to can't let go. And that's the problem. So it could seem like frustrating, but it's, it's still, you're trying to get into a positive direction.
Mm-hmm. And then did this morph into, so you went to, let's go back to the first time then. You went to this Gnostic mass. Mm-hmm. And then how long after that until you actually got paperwork, and were initiated to OTO?
Yeah, I'll explain this now. When you first go, if you're interested in it and you like it, you actually have to ask for paperwork to get people to sign signatures for you there. And you got to fill out like information on yourself. Now, most of the people, just because like you want to make sure the person that's joining isn't psychotic, you're not going to sign that paper, right away. You'll just be like, oh, just keep coming. And, eventually I'm sure somebody will sign it for you. And I think it took me like the third time I finally asked, and I got 2 signatures to become a Minerval. Mm-hmm. Now, a Minerval is just an honored guest. It's like 1 foot in the door. And if you get the signatures, you can't actually, you have to be going, I think, for 6 or 9 months still for them to actually put you into the initiation.
So you're going what, once a week on Sundays or what?
I was probably going like maybe 2 or 3 times a month, maybe sometimes more, because they'll have classes, they'll have sometimes they'll actually do like history on certain people in the occult. There's more than just the Gnostic Mass. And they'll have rituals for certain holidays, or if certain people want to try to do a ritual there and they can get it passed by the lodge master and they think it's like okay and safe for the lodge and it's nothing crazy. You could do a ritual there and have the members come and watch.
And so you start having conversations with the people there. Do you start making friends?
Yeah. Kind of. I mean, you kind of had to. I mean, unless you just want to sit there by yourself and not talk to anybody. Yeah, you start talking to some people, and only there was a few good members there that would you know after being there for a while, I could see that when a new person showed up, they tried to welcome them and talk to them, so you didn't feel uncomfortable and out of place. Because if it's your first time going and you didn't know what's going to happen, I mean, you could already be in shock like I was, and you're just like, well, what the fuck? Where am I now? Yeah,
Right. And how would you describe the people that reach out and are welcoming you and stuff? As just kind of
they're probably more of the better people, probably more of people that are there for positive reasons. Some of them I've also found to be, I think, completely like a bullshit artist, like a facade, or it's funny. I was talking to actually one of my friends today that he left the OTO himself. Also, he actually signed the paperwork and legally left. We were talking about a member, and I said the guy reminded me a lot of Obama, because I felt like he was really good at talking the talk, but he was a totally different person than what he was actually, pretending to be.
Right.
And that's exactly how I felt from some of those people there too.
But
they were good at spinning a facade,
right,
or virtual signaling, but they really weren't those type of people.
Right. So, but you do think that some of the people that were involved were generally just kind of good people who...
Oh, for sure. I mean, see, the thing that got me big into it is because there is a lot of self-development. I mean, in order for you to even, in my opinion, to even start practicing serious magical, like I said, crossing the abyss, you're going to have to deal with yourself. Like psychologically, you're going to have to really do an honest, fearless inventory of yourself. And you're going to have to cut off all the cancer and all the bullshit that's attached to you. All your bad habits, all your crazy, insane thinking and fears. You have to get rid of that stuff to become a balanced person. That actually appealed to me the most.
Right. And did you start...
I mean, or at least half, it was half, that, and actually, doing magic. But that, it was a pretty big. It was very appealing to me.
So, well, I can imagine why. I mean, I guess I understand it, and this happens in a lot of different things that you could call cults or you could call religious practices. I mean, this is what happens in Scientology too. You're getting to release issues that you have or deal with them. And
but all that stuff is done on your own. I'm not doing it with anybody there.
So then did you get assignments or something where you have to go home and do some stuff?
Believe it or not, when you take the initiations, they actually do give you a list of, they'll give you like a packet of things, and they'll tell you like books and certain things you're supposed to be studying. I honestly don't think I ever looked at them. I was whatever I was doing. I wasn't worried about what they said I should do. I wanted to do what I wanted to do.
Okay.
But no. Say that again. What was your original question? I'm sorry.
Well, I think I'm interested in.
If they gave me like homework, like stuff to do.
Yeah.
There is plenty of. I mean, they suggest. Yes, he has books. Liber E is a book that has certain types of breathing techniques, meditation techniques, yoga techniques. They'll put you in the direction and give you like things to try out, and plenty of them. That was another thing that it appealed to me. It was so vast. I mean, I could be into Buddhism, or I could be into other things and like still do those types of practices, and it totally fit with that stuff anyway.
Yeah, so there are a lot. So you're saying that there are a lot of things involved in their practices that are similar to other religious practices, like Buddhism, for example,
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
and maybe
Yeah.
yoga and meditation as well, huh?
Yeah. I mean, they're big into chakra work too. I mean, they'll do classes on chakras and stuff. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you can really, if you don't like something that the other person's doing, you'll find something that you do like that you can do,
Mm-hmm. So
And that's another thing too. Like I could be into Egyptian gods and the person next to me could be into Norse gods. It doesn't matter.
right, as long as you're not too much into kind of Jesus and the Bible, it sounds like, right?
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I could be going up in there and screaming like "Hail Satan" and "Hail Lucifer," and they'll like that a lot more if I said, "Praise Jesus."
Right. Like if you start saying that, then people have problems. But otherwise,
Yeah.
a lot of other things fit into it. That's interesting. So what did you do? Start going home and doing meditation and yoga and stuff?
Yes.
Or?
Yes. Meditation. Now the yoga practices, believe it or not, that they give you aren't. I mean, there is some where it's almost like the yoga that you would see, but a lot of them there's like I think 3 or 4 different poses that they suggest to try to use, and you're just holding that pose for as long as you can. It's suggested up to even hold it for an hour if you can.
Oh, really? So and is it pretty strenuous? Or
I always chose the God form, which comes from like a lot of Egyptian drawings. It shows like the god sitting on a chair and like his hands on his legs. That's literally all you're doing. You're sitting with your back straight in a chair and you're keeping your hands on your legs and you're just trying to sit there for an hour straight.
really?
Yeah, I've gotten to like maybe 40 minutes.
Huh. And
If you're in the Astrum Argentum, they actually check you on that. They'll put a plate on top of your head to make sure it doesn't fall off, and you got to sit and hold the pose for an hour.
really? And did you
Yep.
start to experience the benefits, let's say, of doing this
Oh
stuff?
yeah.
Huh.
A lot more calm, a lot more at peace, more focused. My life just seemed to be going better, but that's probably because I was just a different person.
Right, right. Well, you were focusing your energy on being a better person, right?
Yes, exactly.
And
Yeah.
then they're giving you these spiritual practices to go along with it. And did you ever get the feeling that you were performing some kind of magic, or did you ever get the feeling that you crossed the abyss yourself? Or
Yeah. Well, yes to both. I mean, when I first started getting into it and actually like really doing I guess you would call it spells. And that that's another thing too. I mean, for myself and for a lot of other people too that I know that were serious with this stuff and weren't like psychos or screwed up in the head. A lot of the stuff that I would do myself, I'm actually calling in the God into me, really, and asking that God to give me what kind of attributes, like Thoth or Tahuti is known for being like, for speech and communication and knowledge. So if like let's say at work, I might have I got to do a presentation or something in a few days, I would invoke Thoth and ask him to give me the power of speech and communication, so I do a good job.
mm-hmm. And then
I wasn't so much putting it on, well, I want that person to like what I said. I'm doing it to try to change me, not the people around me.
and did you use like an imagery for thought or a symbol?
Oh yeah, I had statues, I had a picture. When it comes to ceremonial magic, there's colors for everything. There could be shapes, symbols. I mean, so you could have like 3 or 4 different things on your altar to represent that thing that you're trying to contact, which in my opinion also helps with like the mind connection to it.
And now, so I understand an example now of where you'd use it, and there's a ceremony, and then you felt the results. I mean, did you feel like an otherworldly force giving you extra powers, or did you just feel more confident, or what, when you made that presentation?
The things that I was asking to happen or the things that I wanted to accomplish just started just to happen. And it was just like so easily. It was almost like things were like, like I was, like I said, I used one for work because there was like something going on at work and I wanted to get a bonus to achieving a certain thing. And I had to be able to talk real well. I had to like almost kind of like sell shit in a way or sell an idea. And I basically wasn't even having to do that. They were just coming to me. And I was just like, oh, wow, this is great. And I actually won the contest. And I was hardly even trying. So, I mean, stuff like that could be coincidental, but when it starts happening like, over and over and over again, you start to think like, stuff might be real.
Right.
I mean, there was one time, I want to try to explain it without giving away too much. There was somebody in my life that needed to go. I mean, it was just not healthy. And it was basically, I had like a neighbor that was psychotic. And was off the wall, and eventually started like, just showing up at my house with like a knife, or calling the cops at 3:00 in the morning while I'm sleeping, because the person's nuts. I was like, well, this person's got to go. And I did something to get rid of him. And probably within a month, the guy was moving out because he got evicted.
Crazy.
Yeah. I mean, there was one time when I had invoked Horus. Now that, I don't even remember why I did it, but I remember at the time that was actually the first thing that ever made me think, holy shit, this is actually real. Because this was like one of the first things I really did, like one of my first like real like elaborate rituals, where like I actually drew up like a talisman. I had all this stuff on the altar, the different colored candles, the herbs, crystals, like I was going all out. And when I was doing it, I don't know if it was Horus or what it was, but where I was doing it, the room got hot as hell and very thick. And even after I was done doing what I was doing, and saw my wife afterwards, she was even looking at me and she's like, what the hell were you just doing? I was like, why? She's like, well, one, you're drenched, and she's like, and your eyes are completely bloodshot. I said, I don't know. I said, there was something in there.
Wow. So people are,
and then that made me believe like this stuff is legit.
Right.
That was like one of the things that I guess I could say that sold me.
Now people are freaking out a little bit in my chat and stuff. So I guess I should ask, you've practiced this stuff and you say it works. Have you sworn off doing this kind of magic since then?
Yes. I have not practiced anything since I've stopped.
And what made you decide to stop?
In my beliefs, I crossed the abyss, and it just wasn't something I was ready to deal with. And there's just certain things about the OTO that I think is just outright disgusting. And I was pretty much out the door for a while anyway.
Okay. So explain how that happened. Now people have heard your explanation of how, this stuff can kind of work, I guess you could say, right? It got you a bonus. It got rid of your psychotic neighbor. You started experiencing real things happening as a result of what you were doing, praying to different gods. This is stuff that really actually freaks people out. I mean, some people in the chat are saying, get this guy off the show. He's cursing your show, etc. And
No.
That's all right.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry people are thinking that.
No. Everybody responds differently. I think it's important for people to know what's going on and, not.
Exactly. That's why I'm coming out and saying it.
Yeah. So what turned you off? Like, now we understand how you maybe benefited from it, you could say. What ended up turning you off about it?
Well, at one point I started getting turned off just from the people there, honestly. That was the first thing. They have the thing, it's called thelema. That's do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Right. That doesn't mean that you can just go out and do whatever the hell you want, whenever you want. It doesn't. That's the farthest thing from it, but people seem to think that's what it means.
Well, so what should it mean?
It means that you need to know who you are, know what who am I, what am I here to do, and you're supposed to stay focused and achieve that. You're not supposed to be, doing dumb shit in the name of this is my will. No, I doubt. The thing in magic is eventually you're supposed to come in contact with your holy guardian angel. Some people say it's your higher self. Some people think it's an actual angel. And that's when you're supposed to know like who you really are and how where you're supposed to go. Like that's when you're more of like enlightened and you're just like so balanced, just things just go freely. It's not, people seem to think it's an excuse to just do whatever you want. Like I'm sure my guardian angel doesn't think I'm supposed to be like, doing, raping somebody or killing somebody. I know that's to an extreme because I have seen people go to jail, do what thou wilt. No, that's not what my guardian angel thinks I should be doing. I'm sure of it. I mean, I'm almost positive that's not what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm not supposed to be, indulging in crazy amounts of drugs or alcohol. I'm not supposed to be attached to, materialistic things, or I'm not supposed to fall on the floor and cry every time fucking Trump opens his mouth. And that's the type of these people that were in the lodge. And I was just like, you guys are like, you're actually slaves. I hate to say it. They were slaves. They weren't magicians. They were the farthest thing from it. They were so attached to this world and what label they wanted to give themselves, what kind of sexuality they were this week. They were just so attached to that they would never see who they really are at all. Now, that's my opinion.
Right. Well, I mean,
and the thing is that they kind of promoted it. It was, and it was basically a lodge getting filled up with leftist ideology. At one point, when they started doing Zoom meetings, when this thing happened to George Floyd, they decided they needed to do a Zoom meeting so we could talk about what happened. Now, the fact right there that you need to have a Zoom meeting for us to come together and talk about that is an issue, because I mean, it didn't affect me. I wasn't related to the guy. I didn't know the guy. And I could probably speak for everybody else in my lodge. They didn't know them. So, I mean, what happened to him, if it's true and that really happened, it's horrible. It's disgusting. Should never have happened. But that situation is not stopping me from living my life. It's not stopping me from doing my will. So if you think we need to come together in some kumbaya circle, there's obviously a problem. And then when somebody higher up wants to start ranting about Antifa and promoting Antifa, I said, no, this is just too much.
And then besides,
but I mean, there's other things too, that sexual things and stuff I started looking into. You're coming across stuff that maybe I shouldn't have, typically been allowed to read. And other people had, said, yeah, that's actually true. And then there was this, I was just like, no, this I cannot, I will never go back ever.
Yeah. So tell me about that. Like, what do you mean? What things?
Well, in the 5th degree, and I did, I kind of already had an idea anyway, because there was somebody at my lodge who took the 5th degree, and she was a priestess. So, you're going to eventually see that she had to carve a cross into her chest, because she's going to have, her shirt open.
Really?
For the 5th degree, you literally have to carve, you're going to have a scar of the Rosicrucian cross on your chest. Now, after when I had taken one of my last degrees there, and this was right before all this craziness happened too, with COVID and George Floyd and all that stuff, they went over giving you a very little idea of what each degree kind of like needs from you in order to take it. One of them, you do have to be either with somebody, or I'm almost positive it's married. You have to be married to somebody in the lodge to even go up to that degree. And then one of them, this is where now it becomes a cult. You're just supposed to sign over your property to them. I think it's like the 7th or 8th. So, I mean, I had already known I would never go, to pass certain degrees already. I just wouldn't do it. So what was the point of staying?
What degree did you get to?
I see that when I bring that up, I mean, it narrows it down real easily to start finding people.
Oh, I see. Got it.
Because I believe it or not, once you go to the 2nd, you're already into like the top 20% of the people.
Right.
The highest 20%. So, I mean.
Okay. Got it. Right.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I mean, I saw paperwork from you, and I don't know what degree or what, but I saw.
I showed you my Minerval on my 1st degree. That's what I showed you. Just so at least you knew that I was a legit member.
And so where does the sex magic come in?
I mean, that could be. Everybody loves getting into that part.
Well,
no, of course. Now, see, that can be done on your own, but now when it comes to the lodge, that is like the last, I think, 3 initiations do involve sexual stuff or acts, for sure.
Public sexual acts?
No. This shit's going to be in the temple. Believe me.
I'm sorry.
Not going to be out in the public.
I don't mean for the general public, but I mean in front of other people, even if they're part of the lodge.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, the people at the lodge. Yes.
And were you at any ceremonies that involved ritual sex magic?
I might no. That's one thing I will say. I had never attended anything there that did that I actually specifically saw it myself. No.
Did those kind of things happen where, I mean, were there some rituals people were going to that involved some kind of ritual sex magic, or
If when it happens at the lodge, it's for initiations.
for initiations,
Now,
like
when you're
like what?
yes,
Like
now
what do you mean?
the ninth, 10th, and 11th degree. The
Hmm.
ninth degree, basically, screwed as if it sounds, you're basically trying to possess an unborn baby with a demon before the ego develops. Right there, I'm out. Goodbye. That's fucking crazy. That's twisted.
Does
Then
it
the 11th
involve,
degree
what does it
is,
involve?
and now that,
Does it involve
hmm?
sex with a pregnant person, or what?
Well, they have a pregnant. I don't know if they're actually having sex with them during that part, but the fact that the person's pregnant and you're trying to possess them, that's crazy.
Wow.
I do know the 10th, there is some sort of sexual stuff with that, and the 11th, supposed to be, but plenty of people seem to confirm it. Sodomy. I mean, and you can even look up like Alon Milo Duquette and James Wasserman. Those are huge, high up dudes in the OTO. They won't tell you exactly what it is, but they will also say there is sexual things at the top. So it's not even like I'm making this up. There is sexual stuff done.
And you
Now,
found,
sex magic you can do on your own without the lodge.
can you do it on your own without another person, or does it have to
Oh
involve?
yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. So
Yeah.
tons of them. They love doing that. They bust nuts on sigils and then they eat it.
Oh,
They think they're recycling their energy. These freaking people.
weird.
But yeah, the idea behind it is just that the vibrational energy that you're releasing, whatever you want to accomplish, or that the end, that you're whatever you're trying to get at, you're supposed to be focusing on that when you have the orgasm, and you're supposed to. It's basically releasing vibrations and out into the universe to
Right.
get what you want.
And you talk about eating it and stuff. This all ties into kind of what Marina Abramovich and spirit cooking is all about too.
Oh, for
right?
sure. I mean, I'm going to tell you, in my opinion, and it's there's certain things that like I would love to try to get into, but it might be like too personal. And physical problems that I've experienced after when you do cross the abyss, there's going to be a blood issue with yourself after the fact.
What does
So
that
that's
mean?
makes it's just gonna you're going to need to go either to the hospital probably, depending on how far into the abyss you went, or you're going to need like some sort of bags of blood or something. You're going to need blood because your blood gets fucked up.
And
As crazy as that sounds.
from cutting yourself or bleeding,
No,
or
I mean,
or actually because of
if you
magic.
think of your soul as actual fire or electricity, if your soul does leave your body, I mean, you're going to go cold for a little bit, and your blood's going to go thick. I mean, and as crazy as that sounds, but that's been my experience and other people's experience. And then I had assumed this is where all this crazy, sick blood shit comes into, and possibly even adrenochrome, But I'm assuming if you're going to have an issue like that, and if you're addicted to doing this constantly, or if you're going in for like, meditating and crossing the abyss for, a long period of time, or trying to do something fucked up, you're going to come back more fucked up.
And I can't remember if you said this. So this crossing the abyss is what a lot of people would call maybe like a near-death experience, an out-of-body experience.
Yes, exactly. There's even people, I forgot which one it is. There's whatever normal side I think you have strokes on. If you have it on the other side, I've looked up people, testimonies and explaining it. That is even almost the experiences that they had are very close to, what I would say, possibly crossing the abyss, or maybe they were there poking through the curtains, but they didn't completely go in. Or even some people, the Spirit Molecule, if you watch that, it's an old movie or documentary about DMT. There's one or two people in there that their experiences are pretty on point to what you would, get crossing the abyss sober.
And somebody, I did see somebody in one of my chats here was asking about the use of drugs in these ceremonies, particularly maybe DMT. Now, did they get into actually using drugs as part of any of these ceremonies? Or
They never handed them out. If they did, they didn't give them to me, and I didn't know about it.
okay,
Believe it or not, I don't know. They seem to have like a stance on drugs where, as long as it doesn't stop you from doing your will, you can. But it wasn't like a thing that they promoted much either.
okay, so it wasn't like a part of the ceremonies.
No, like anything that I've experienced. That's what
Mm-hmm.
there could be things for people higher up that I wouldn't know.
All right. Well, that's interesting to know, because a lot of times with satanic ceremonies or people involved in satanic ritual abuse and things, there's a lot of talk about lots of drugs involved. Sometimes things like
Well,
cocaine. Sometimes.
I could tell you this. There's a book called 777. It's written by Aleister Crowley. It's basically like a Bible of how to write rituals. It has has everything listed in a column for associations. Like this herb goes with Mars, this crystal goes with Mars, this incense goes with Mars, this god goes with Mars, and then there will be a drug column. And so, that is in there. So, obviously, someone must think that that's important.
Now,
if it's in the book.
Did any of the ceremonies involve abuse of anybody or doing things to another person against their will, particularly children? You mentioned that the Eucharist could have a child's blood.
Yeah, I would probably say at that where I was going, I would highly doubt it is. But when you start, going up to more intense stuff, I would assume that might be an option. But I've never seen anybody get hurt. I've never seen kids there. I have seen, the person was willingly doing it. Someone supposedly did take in a demon from Mars.
Someone actually took on a demon.
Yeah, like when you evoke demons, normally you're supposed to be in a circle and you have a triangle. The circle is for like your protection, and you will have a triangle that you're making them appear into, and there'll be space between you, so there's no problems. There was somebody at the lodge that was willing to actually step inside the triangle and have it brought down into them.
And did you see that happen? And
I felt like there was something there, and the girl did start almost look like she was spazzing a little bit. And I actually thought at one point, I'm like, is she going to start seizing? But was it an act? I don't know. But I do think something was happening.
Interesting. So so you got turned off. I think people do want to know. So you didn't experience or meet anybody who was talking about abusing children or hurting other people while you were a part of this?
No, you might hear people talking about spells that they might have done to somebody, but it was never kids, or I never saw anybody physically get hurt.
So nobody ever alluded to any kind of child sexual abuse, because a lot of people,
No.
And you don't think that anybody you met associated with it would get involved in that kind of thing based on your experience? Or?
I would have to say probably at least maybe 90% of the place that I was going to wouldn't. There was a few people that were very higher up that, they came across as a very, well-balanced people. But like I said, you don't know what somebody's doing when they go home.
Right.
And when you start gaining higher up, I would have to say probably after the 4th or 5th degree, in my opinion, if you look at what these degrees are claiming you to be, after the 4th or 5th, you're really, you're already like the perfected magician. So what's the rest of them for? I would assume it's now whatever agenda the lodge, or the OTO has, that's what these initiations are going towards. Like I said, because it's not like one day you took your 2nd degree and then 2 weeks later, you want to possess a pregnant chick. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's not going to go too well. You have to slowly ease somebody in. You have to slowly manipulate people. Like if you can get somebody to carve a cross on their chest, you pretty much know, I got this person, and I can wrap them around my finger for whatever sick crap we want to do later.
And now,
which is another thing. I think the OTO breeds people to be used and manipulated.
And
by far. They have to, because if you're going to let 90% of that lodge become the total antithesis of Thelema, you would think it's either going to crumble, it's going to go out of business. It's not going to be around anymore unless you want those people there because of an agenda.
Mm-hmm. And was there kind of a thing where the people at the top of the lodge, were they people who were successful in life? I mean, were they wealthy and powerful people? And were there kind of connections? Did you see people getting a leg up from being a part of the cult? Like opportunities were given to them from other cult members or that kind of thing?
Yeah. I mean, to an extent, yeah, for sure. I mean, believe it or not, some of the ones that might have been like kind of in the middle and maybe not have been as far up as some of the other ones were. Yes, for sure. I mean, I definitely seen people like lifestyle changes. All of a sudden now they got their own business. Yeah, I mean, and sometimes they kind of like keep if you can help this person out at the lodge, they would.
Right.
They would help a sibling out than a stranger on the street.
Right. And how would you know to help somebody out who's also part of OTO? I mean, are people walking around out there and like unbeknownst to us, your boss is an OTO and your coworker is an OTO and your coworker gets promotion and stuff?
Yes, for sure. I mean, like I said, there's legit doctors, lawyers, teachers that I know that are members.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
People that own their own businesses.
Right.
One of them is actually in. I don't want to get into that; it's too specific.
All right, no problem. And so, I'm okay. So I'm seeing the benefits to being a part of OTO. Like I see the appeal. I see how you start having things work for you. You start getting benefits from the kind of spell work you're doing. And then, were you having any negative spiritual effects after doing some of this work? And did you ever cross the abyss yourself? I mean, did you ever have this out of body experience yourself?
That's why I said that you would have to, that I know because of situations that happened to me, that, I think after a while there is going to be blood involved.
But so you had
because of crossing the abyss. Yes.
So that happened to you, and what?
Yes.
What happened?
Basically, it's almost as if sometimes you might almost have like a pop in your head, and before you know it, you're standing in a HD TV. This is where it starts getting like really bizarre and wild, and people might even, this guy's just making shit up. But I mean, if you were to look at certain things like movie stars and music people, you might make sense. I've gone back to myself in the womb, which is why Lady Gaga, I think, went into the egg. That's symbolizing the womb. I've gone back to ancient Egypt, my belief.
So, in other words, when you say you've gone back to ancient Egypt, you transported in like a three-dimensional way into ancient Egypt.
Basically, the best way I could say it is that it's like your soul is like going out the back of your head or out the back of your body, and it's going somewhere else.
How did you achieve that? Did you achieve it through one of these, like the God pose or something, sitting there for an hour? Or?
No, I mean, it could be years and years of doing that, maybe getting to a certain discipline, but it was, believe it or not, one of the times that I actually did that, it was legit just one candle. I mean, I might have done a banishing just to remove the energies from where I was. And then I legit just sat there and meditated with one candle in front of me with my eyes closed. And that was it.
And then you ended up actually in ancient Egypt. I mean, what was that experience?
It was probably, at the time when you're in there, it's probably like the most blissful, amazing, beautiful experience that I've ever had. It was just like, I don't know, just everything was just beautiful and as is, and it was just bliss, really. Especially like when you're like looking around and like, when this looks like I'm really here. That's kind of like mind blowing. But when you come back, you may not always feel that great either.
Yeah. So what happened? You said you had blood issues yourself?
Yeah.
What happened?
Putting myself in the hospital after
really?
like one of the last times I did it. Yeah.
So you, a number of times you did this crossing the abyss, and it was through these meditations and stuff. And you ended up in the hospital for what?
Well, that's all. I mean, unfortunately I've spoken to a few people about that, and I don't, I don't know
Oh,
if I really want to
oh,
get
I
too
see.
detailed in case
I get
anybody
it.
was to listen to it,
I
but
get it. I get it.
I had to get, I had to deal with it on my blood. Yes.
I
I was
get
there
it.
for
I
like
get
two
it.
or 3 days too. They honestly had no idea what was wrong with me because I didn't have anything to really to tell them.
Wow. Wow.
Like, oh,
Jeez.
couldn't understand why that happened to me at all.
And was that like a breaking point for you where you said, okay, I got to stop screwing around with this stuff?
Well, all right. I was already planning on not even going back to the OTO at all at that point.
And when you say going
Before
back to
that
the
even
OTO,
happened, I was never.
what does that involve?
Well,
Just going to the masses, or are you hanging out playing
I
video
wasn't.
games? Or?
No, I wasn't. I was not going to associate with that order at all anymore. Nothing.
I know, but when you were associated with them, what did it involve? Did it involve just going
Oh,
to these masses,
I would go
or
to. I would sometimes be in the masses. I would go to classes if they had one.
classes?
I've done a class. Yeah, it was just going there and doing whatever's going on, masses or classes basically. Or
Okay.
sometimes they have specific rituals for holidays, and the Book of the Law was written in 3 days. They'll do a ritual each day for that.
All
So,
right.
yeah, that type of stuff. Yeah.
So okay. So you had pretty wild experiences. I think
Yeah.
anybody could say. And then the real turnoff was the politics. Is that? I mean, so
Well, that started. It was the politics. Once I started realizing it was just like they were like promoting like leftist ideology. I started noticing that, and then once I, came across that other, the sexual shit that I knew pretty much because the one with the possessing. I mean, that I read it's real. If you even dig deep enough on the internet, you can find that actually. I was just like, no, that was where I drew the line. I mean, I was never going to carve the cross into my chest either. Once I started realizing like a lot of the stuff that you might have heard bad about it was actually true, because I honestly, to be totally honest, I did think a lot of it was propaganda too. I was like, maybe a lot of this stuff that you hear is bad is to turn you off from going, so then you'll never know the mysteries of mysteries and secrets of secrets. You won't get involved because you think, you heard that this happened or Crowley did this. So a lot of it, I was like, I kind of went in with like a non-bias, outlook. And I was like, let me see where it takes me. And I had even told myself, it's funny, I even told a family member, and it's funny because he's like, well, I guess you're doing it now. I said, if I was to ever come across something fucked up about this shit, I was going to tell anybody that would listen to it. And that's exactly what happened. Unfortunately, it is as fucked up as a lot of people think, and that's what I'm doing now. I'm telling people.
Really? And so and now, and so what is it that's fucked up about it? Just
well,
tell
I mean,
me
you shouldn't be trying to possess a baby.
Right.
I mean, that's just. I mean, that goes against the will to begin with.
Right.
I mean, how are you? You're not letting that thing choose its own destiny.
Right.
The 11th degree sodomy. I mean, I just don't that and that and when you cross the abyss, that's, in my opinion, where you can really start doing some serious damage to other people and yourself. Like that, in my opinion, is legit magic. That's when you put the K on the end of it, on the word magic, crossing the abyss. That's when it's serious, because it's basically as if you opened up like a window or a door. You stuck your head out to wherever you were kind of looking to go. You're gonna grab something with you, and you're going to bring that back with you when you open your eyes.
So
that's scary. I mean, I'll be totally honest. It sound like a wimp or a pussy. That is scary to me, and I was like, this shit is for real by far than I ever expected, and I am not gangster enough for that crap.
Okay, so this is where you were having negative psychic experiences, and
you could come back and it feels like the weight of the moon is crushing you. It's almost as if like because you left your body, you weren't experiencing gravity or anything, and now when you come back into your body, that shit hits you like a ton of bricks.
Do you still experience negative psychic effects from work you did?
I mean, there's times when believe it or not, you can almost like you can still feel like energy sometimes moving around in your body, or like and when it gets down, in my opinion, this is going to be the whole secrets of secrets and mysteries of mysteries. This is the shit that you're not supposed to talk about. Maybe some people might have seen online. Sometimes they have these ideas where people with their eyes have been hurt or they're bruised, or they have band-aids on them and they think it's like a sign of some kind of occult thing. That is, some of them are fake or some of them may not be real, but that actually, those people are right. What you're going to do is you're going to harness the magnetism from the moon with your third eye. You're going to choose your left eye. It's called the Wheel of Fortune. There's a Wheel of Fortune tarot card that falls on the Tree of Life. That's like a GPS of time and space. You're going to hit that with your left eye. You're going to be able to focus where in the back of your brain that you want to hit, and you're going to pull, because magnetism can bend light. You're going to bend the light back into your right eye and shoot it into your brain. In your brain is past, future, present of you and of existence. And once you pull that light and open up the eye and back of your head, you are going to go places that you never even thought was possible. That's the legit thing right there. No lie. That's like the type of stuff that if I swore secrecy to that and probably came out and said it on TV, I'd be like another Isaac Happy and they'd be falling off the fucking bridge or overpass.
So you,
I mean, as bizarre as that sounds,
right,
because that's what you have the candle for. You're gonna have that candle because you need some source of light. Even though your eyes are closed, you're gonna see the flickering a little bit, and you're gonna use that light. I mean, I'd be totally honest with you. Another thing that freaked me out that I forgot to bring up, I was able to blow out candles just with thought.
Really?
That by far scared the living shit out of me. Because the first time it happened was by accident. I started noticing as I was meditating the candle just like flickering like crazy. And I'm like, open my eyes. I'm like, did I have the air conditioner on? Maybe I didn't notice, or, the window open. And then I started going into the deep meditation, and I was just focusing on my third eye, just trying to like hold it. It was just a practice. I was just trying to hold different chakras and feel the energy. And I realized as I started to hold it and get intense, I saw like flashing in my eyes. And I'm starting to think like, oh, maybe it's like in my head. And then I started to notice, wait, no, that's actually the flame to the candle flickering. So I got up. The thing was looking fine. And I started focusing and kept my eyes open this time and started doing that. And the candle started like going nuts and then eventually out. And that I just totally stopped doing what I was doing, turned around and went to bed. It scared the living shit out of me.
So once again, you've totally stopped doing this now and you've gone back to Jesus Christ. Is that correct?
Oh, no, I'm not a Bible thumper now. Believe me. No, I'm not one of them. But I think, there's a lot of occult ideas with Jesus also. I don't want to come out and say, like, I'm pretty sure he existed or somebody existed like him. But there's a lot of occultism in my belief in Catholicism also. So basically what I want to get at is I feel like that my experience might have been a little bit kind of like something that might have been his experience. And I know this sounds crazy. So it kind of like gave me a much deeper understanding and, camaraderie for this guy. Because I honestly feel that, him dying on the cross and then coming back in 3 days, in my opinion, that was him crossing the abyss and just seeing dead. It might sound crazy, but I think that might be part of it. And him being able to come back and still do the right thing, and still try to tell people, you need to stop what you're doing. You need to change your life. That was very inspiring to me. And I felt like that maybe I kind of had more of an emotional attachment to the idea of Jesus now, because I might have understood a little bit more about, what's really out there, what can really, just what the truth of what can really be done, So, I mean, I definitely had a lot more love and respect for that, man or that idea afterwards. And it's funny, Catholicism brought me to, and that stuff kind of brought me to the OTO, and then the OTO brought me back to Jesus anyway, or the idea of Jesus at least. The Christ figure. It scared the shit out of me so much. I was like, whoa, where's Jesus at again?
Right. Okay. Wow. So, but you're all done with it now. You're all done with it, and you don't do any of those.
Yeah. I've actually asked
anymore?
for the paperwork to be sent to me so I can legit sign it and officially be taken off of their like list of members. One person I know, it took him 6 months. Another person took him 8 months. It's only been a couple of months for me now.
Couple of months since you stopped.
Yeah.
Really?
Well, a couple of months since I've asked them to actually send it to me. At one point when all this stuff happened, like I legit just started throwing out half my stuff, but most of it really. I think I might have kept some, incense, herbs, and candles just, for actual, just regular use. But pretty much like was just tossing everything, throwing it out. I was like nothing to do with it. I didn't even want to contact anybody from Lodge. So I was just like, out of sight, out of mind. And then eventually I was like, I probably should actually just ask to be removed as a member. Because I really don't want my name associated with that place.
Right. You're not worried anybody's going to come after you or anything?
No. Like I said, I was low enough. And you know what? To be totally honest with you, and this is another thing, I'm not a leftist, so I actually only had like a few, like probably strong relationships with people there. I mean, a few of them were a little bit higher up, but like honestly, for the most part, most of the people there would probably be happy not to see me again anyway.
Mm-hmm. And that's because of politics.
They kind of they knew like that wasn't who I was. I was I guess maybe they might have seen me as intimidating in a way, as stupid as that sounds. I'm more of like a macho. I hate to even say that. Because you get you have a lot of weird sexualities there too. So if you see like, a man that's sure of himself, sometimes you may not like that.
Right. Interesting. It's interesting that you kind of got turned off by the politics.
Yeah. Well, that was the first thing that I noticed. But then, like I said, eventually I started realizing other stuff and I was like, nah.
Well, you know what?
I mean, the politics probably would have kept me out to begin with. Right. Eventually, anyway.
Right. Well, this is really fascinating. I'm gonna take some phone calls, I think, and then I'm looking at my wife to see. Katie, you've been listening to what we've been talking about?
Yeah, it's really interesting. Thanks for sharing your story.
Hey, no problem.
A lot of people in the chat have been making, contributing and making comments about this, and wowed as well. Some people have asked a few questions, so I thought I'd maybe bring up. So with sorry if you said this already, but did you grow up as a Roman Catholic?
No.
Okay, so it wasn't like
it was more of a Christian, really.
Right. Oh yes, and you did say that, so I apologize.
Yeah.
So
Right.
It wasn't a Roman Catholic experience that moved you to explore OTO. No.
Even though the Gnostic Mass is supposedly highly influenced by a Russian Orthodox.
Right. That's interesting.
Were there other questions people have? I'm going to open up the phone too.
Yeah, just another one that came up that was there any... I know that you said that they get you to a balanced place in the beginning, which I think you touched on it being clean of alcohol and maybe drug use. But within any of the rituals, were they ever using DMT that you know of?
No, not that I know of. I mean, I wish I would have known. No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. But
I never heard of them using that. No.
It's interesting because the experience, the whole, out of body experience, a lot of people experience something like that with DMT.
Right.
So yeah, for sure. That's why I was saying like some of the experience that I had myself was, pretty close to, what I've heard some people have with DMT. And that's the point where it's like you feel like you're just like spread out everywhere and you're a part of everything. Like even when I have these visions of wherever I am, it still feels like I'm like everywhere though. It's hard to explain. So you're a part of everything. You're a part of the fabric.
Right.
Of that existence.
Right. And I have heard others say that you can have the DMT experience without actually taking DMT through.
Yeah, I believe that.
Through some kind of, I wouldn't necessarily say ritual, but spiritual practice.
Right.
Well, thank you. Thank you anyway.
Yeah, of course.
Great.
All right, I'm going to open up the phone. Let's see if we can make this work. Thanks everybody for joining me. Especially on YouTube where we hardly do the show. The shows are, and here's a call coming in already.
Straight away.
Just subscribe to my website, lifttheveil411.com for all of the content. This is a very special show. Let's see. Hello, you're on the air.
Hey, Nathan, how you doing?
Hey, good.
It's been a while since I called you.
Yes, it has been a while. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Very interesting guess.
Can you two hear each other? Let me make sure
Yes,
that.
I can hear him.
Okay. Can you hear him, Calator?
Yeah, I can hear your guest.
Okay, great.
I can tell by his accent that he's probably from the East Coast.
Well, he's New York. New York Patriot
Believe
is
it or
how I
yes,
know
it
him.
is,
So
yes. And the NY is it's New York, but it's also kind of a play on words too.
And-
'cause letters are occult also. So.
and
Right.
you wanted to drop your Twitter info, right? New York Patriot.
Yes.
Before I forget, and that's so it's at NY Patriot 1978. Is
Yes, on Twitter and BitChute and Spotify and Apple.
NY Patriot 1978. If anybody wants to follow our guest on Twitter, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Okay, go ahead, Calator. I'm sorry.
Okay. I came across a lodge of OTO practitioners in New York City back in the early 2000s. I would say around 2000. And I was wondering if I'm not going to name names or anything like that, but I will say, did you ever come across a woman of Norwegian descent or Scandinavian descent who was connected with a major network, lived in the Upper East Side, had a townhouse up there, very heavily into it, and she hung around with a very large Latin woman by the name of Maria. I'll only give her first name.
Yeah, I know Maria.
You know what I'm talking about, don't you?
Yeah.
And Maria and her last name began with another M. I'll leave it at that. I think
No,
you know
what?
I'm
I
talking
couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you that.
about.
I wouldn't
Okay,
know
okay.
who
Yeah, I'm not going to ask you to confirm all right. Anyway, this group of people were you with a lot of artistic type people, right? Because that's who OTO goes after a lot.
Yeah, you're very right, actually.
Yeah,
You get people who have this communist ideology that they should be able to make as much as a doctor writing poems.
Yeah, but you would also consider, you use the term leftist, but they're staunch globalists, and they do believe in the one world ideology.
Oh yeah, for sure. They think it needs to be pushed onto every single person, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they do believe in that ideology.
That's the problem with it. Yes, yeah, by far.
Even though they insist and they think they ought to live like capitalists, which is kind of ironic. But
it's funny. It's funny. You get this one dude that's talking about how he's into communism on a Zoom meeting, and
right.
And he thinks that he should be making as much money writing poems as a doctor, but yet he wrote it on his iPhone. Like, I just don't get that shit at all.
Right.
Like, if you're against capitalism, why the fuck do you even own an iPhone?
Yes, and they also have the entitlement that they must eat and be seen at the most fancy, well-established restaurants as well. So, but I came across these. Some of them are very nice people. Some of them are very into it, but. Would you say you were scared out of it because of that last experience?
Yeah,
I can understand
because I know the objective near the end of as you go higher up is to start doing stuff like that, and I just that's a very thin line, a razor line that you're walking on of good and
well. Once you get a peek in that spirit world, it's very hard to pull back from it, and even though you're not practicing, you will still see things in the spirit world. And that's what people don't understand. You don't even have to do any rituals. Feel it too,
by far.
Right. You don't have to do any rituals, and you will see the spirit world. You will see demons. You will see. I'll put it to you this way: I had an Illuminati spiritual. These are people with silver hair, and they can look into the spirit world, and they can see who's hanging around you.
Yes, but that's another thing. You're not even supposed to tell anybody who your holy guardian angel is, because they believe that somebody else can actually go into the abyss and technically kill you.
Well, it didn't work with me.
That's something of the Sphinx. I forgot the phrase of it.
But anyway, back in the time when some people were sizing me up for certain things and they failed, I'll put it to you that way. I had this one guy who I saw him like over a 2 or 3 day period. I said, this guy's like checking me out. Anyway, I got the sense of what they were doing, and they just sort of backed off after a while because I know what my protection is. But
exactly.
Your story comes across very authentic, and I want you to applaud you for your strength and determination and stepping back. the reason why I didn't go through is because I kind of knew what they were all about, and that kind of hocus pocus stuff. The thelemic side, which is the inner core belief of it, and they do practice thelema in the inner core of it.
Oh
and
yeah, that I know. That's another thing that when you, my opinion, when you cross the abyss, I think that whole thelemic idea might actually change a little bit, in my opinion.
Well,
I think that's when you can actually start. You can start giving yourselves reasons why you're doing sick shit.
Okay, well, what I'm getting at is that the thelema part is interwoven to a lot of science fiction. Robert Heinlein and a lot of other prolific science fiction authors, they really taught the thelemic principles within their books, like Time Enough Love, Stranger in a Strange Land, and some of those other. Yeah. And this was taught to me by some. But you come across people like that are not hard to come across in New York. And so when I heard your accent, I said, "Oh man, this guy's from Brooklyn, New York," and I know the kind of people he's come across, and you have a lot of leftists and globalists there, and their thing is to change the world, and you got to do it on these principles, and it's gonna happen this way.
Everybody has to be educated about everybody's beliefs.
Right. They really have an extreme ideation for higher education. Okay. They worship it. I mean, if you went to an Ivy League school, if you went to a most competitive university, even though these people don't know half of what they think they don't know, and they really don't, because they can't integrate knowledge and they can't get the things that they want without harming other people, without ritualizing things and doing it at the expense of other people. Anyway, I won't hold up a lot of your time, but I found your, for lack of a better word, your testimony very compelling.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's that's what I'm trying to do. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Calator. Thanks for calling in. You always have mystery to you.
Well, yeah, that's pretty awesome.
All right. Thanks. All right. We will take more calls. You can call in 650-429-8294.
It's always interesting.
Turn your mic on.
It's always interesting to bring up the elite side of these things. One of the famous OTO members in the UK, where I'm from, was Bob Geldof's daughter, Pixie Geldof,
right,
who actually died of an alleged overdose shortly after showing an OTO tattoo on her Twitter page and exposing a pedophile ring.
Hey, you're on the air.
Hey, I was just listening to the caller that was on your show.
Yeah, we're on together.
Okay, awesome. In the chat, I am just a girl, 1962. I'm going to try to make it short and wrap it up because I have such a long story. First of all, I want to say it was very interesting listening to him and what he's done and witnessed. It's interesting, but at the same time, I think a lot of people are freaked out because whenever you go to a dark side like that and you've been brought up with any kind of religious background, it scares you. And so long story short, I had a baby at 17. She had crib death. Back then they called it crib death. Now it's from the vax. Then I had a son and he committed suicide. And then after that, my whole life was like never the same. I was brought up going to church. I don't believe in organized religion, but I'm very spiritual. And I've always felt like that I have a very close relationship with God. I can almost feel people. Like, I have a good spirit. I can feel if someone is bad when they come in the room, or if I first meet somebody, I can just tell. My whole life I've been that way. And long story short, going back to what this person was, I'm going off his topic. I moved into a new apartment This was like 2 years after my son took his life. He was my only child. And I'm in bed one night. I live alone. I don't do drugs. I don't drink. And I'm in bed one night. And it's hard for me to even talk about this because it's so, it almost like makes me get chills just saying the words out loud. And I've only told one other person in my whole life about what happened that I knew could handle the story. I'm laying in bed one night and I'm sleeping, and I'm just sleeping. I'm not doing anything. Nothing happened that day. And I wake up like you're almost in that twilight state, and something was holding me down. Like I could not move my body. Mm-hmm. And my eyes were like not really open, and I couldn't move. And it was like this dark feeling come upon me, and all I could do was say the word Jesus out of my mouth. That was all I could even do. And it went away. And it was creepy and scary, but at the same time, it was cool to me because it let me know I'm a child of God, and if any demon tries to come after me, hands off. Mm-hmm. That's it. I'm already that woke me up enough to know that there is a dark spirit world and there is a good spirit world, and I just felt like I need to share this because people don't understand that it's very real.
Yeah.
And
yes, it is.
And it scares me when I hear people not take it serious, because it is very serious. My son that took his life, he was a great child. He never gave me any trouble. He was a genius. And he was great until he got into high school. And he started getting his tarot cards and Ouija board and everything. And I said, no, that's not allowed in this house. Mm-hmm. And I'm not a Bible thumper. I am just a very spiritual person. And I know when I feel something evil or bad, I don't want to be around it. Mm. And I think that that's discernment from our Creator that lets us know if it feels wrong to you, if it isn't making you feel right, then don't go there. And that's why I'm my question for this guy is like, if you were in this place and you knew it made you feel like you shouldn't be there, then why did you keep going back?
Well, the reasons why I didn't feel comfortable being there originally was because of political stuff. Once I had found out about the sexual stuff, I had already stopped going to it. And then there was just other things. Then from my own experiences, then I was just like, no. I mean, basically, I had no plans on ever going back once I started seeing that other stuff. Once I had my experience, then that was like what made me say, like, I don't even want my name like associated with you at all. I may have just stopped going and just, whatever, just let it go, just never showed up, never went again. It really wouldn't make a difference. But at this point, no, I don't even want my name in a book or anything associated with them.
Right. But
it wasn't until I really knew like how sick and twisted it was. That's since then I have not been associated. I haven't even done Zoom or anything.
Right. Well, I feel compelled. I know you have a mother, and I was a mother. I'm not a mother anymore, and it breaks my heart. But I'm going to pray for you because
I appreciate that.
I don't want anyone to have dark forces around them. That's bad. And I don't know you, but I don't care. I'm still going to pray for you. And I'm not a Bible thumper, like I said. I am just very spiritual. And this is what we got to do right now. Us as people on this earth, we have got to come together in the bright side, in the good side, and care about each other's soul. Because this is a war for our mind, what we're going through right now.
Oh, by far. And I hate to say it, I think a lot of
died.
this stuff is being used right now against people, to be totally honest with you.
I mean, when my son took his life, I died. Part of me died. You can't get any worse than that. The pain of that, there's nothing that compares. If anyone is listening and even thinking about doing that, you will kill your mother. But we have got to be all together in this, with caring about each other and praying for each other's soul. That we always are there for each other. I mean, I feel so compelled to say that I care about you and I don't even know you, because I know you have a mother, and I know that I don't know her, but that's what people do. You know, you got to care about others. And that's basically my message I wanted to get through to people is, you know, let's come together on this. If nothing else, through all this that we're going through, we got to be coming together.
Right. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Thanks for the call.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. See ya. All right. People, it's pretty serious stuff. Pretty serious stuff. Yeah. You know, a lot of people talk about playing around with magic and stuff and the dark side, and it, you know, that it opens up some kind of a portal where then you can't shut it down, you know, and then you have influence from these dark forces again. All right, let's take another call. 2 serious calls. Let's go. Hey, you're on the air.
Hello?
Hey.
Hey, what's up? Hey, man, I called yesterday. I was just going to be quick. This is John. I was wondering if your guest, you know, don't want to get into the acts or the aspects of this, but I wonder if your guest could delve down into the sex magic, the sexual blackmail, and the gay and the transsexual people brought into OTO, and I'll take my answer off the air, man.
Okay, thanks, John.
All right.
Go ahead.
Unfortunately, I wasn't exactly. You know, I really wasn't exactly sure what he was trying to get at.
He said he was talking about sexual blackmail, and he was talking about how the gay and the trans agenda started mixing in with what was going on with OTO, if at all.
Sure. Well, I couldn't tell you. I mean, I don't know about any sexual blackmail.
Okay.
I wouldn't know
Fair
about
enough.
that. You know, one thing I did want to bring up, there was ties to James Alefantis being associated with OTO members in Australia. So, I mean, that's something possibly sexual, but I don't know. But the sex magic, I don't know. I don't quite understand. I think, honestly, that the reason they kind of, you know, go on with like this transgender, like kind of like promote that and other weird things like that, it's my opinion that, you know, part of their ideology or what they're trying to accomplish, you know, what some people might see as kind of the leftist agenda also is like the destroying the nuclear family, destroying like, you know, family morals. Right. You're basically degrading people down to like kind of like animals just to control. They think they're being liberated, but really they're not.
Right.
They're just being wrapped around your finger and whatever idea you want to give them so you can use them for whatever you want to later on.
Right.
I mean, if you start, you know, that's the whole other thing with like, you know, the kind of like the leftist ideologies, you're always bending the knee to the next person and never standing up for yourself. So if you're constantly doing that, it's easy for you to start being told what to do.
Right.
Right. And it's interesting that Calator said they're not really leftists, they're globalists. And we have...
Well, he's actually completely right, because they think the whole world, and a lot of times they honestly think that that's what, they have the Aeon of Horus that we're supposed to be living in. Instead of, I guess, like the Aeon of Aquarius or whatever.
Right.
They have that, and they seem to think that that's actually going to bring upon this worldwide globalist idea.
New world order. I mean, yes. I was gonna go on to say
but
that
it's in freedom to them, but they have no idea what it. They don't realize it's not freedom. Right.
Well, the UN is very, very connected to all of this, and the Blavatsky teachings.
Mm-hmm.
We have one of our listeners and the guy that works on our website, Harry. He's done an enormous amount of research on the cult of the UN. And the things that they're ushering in. And then, of course, you get all these celebrities reeling off the talking points, and whether that's transgenderism or green energy, climate change, what's her name? The little Greta Thunberg. All these things are all coming in. They're all under a cult umbrella. And
for sure. Yes. They're all like actors or controlled, actors and stuff, or, just puppets.
Right. And though I can't speak on it fluently myself, our friend has a lot of information on how that ties into Helena Blavatsky. That's her name, isn't it, Nathan?
Yes. Yeah.
And also how that was basically what the Nazis were into as well.
Yes.
So,
that was a total occult pagan war by far.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it was interesting that you were talking about politics, because a friend of mine has studied Buddhism for a long time, and it's helped her a lot. She's based in London, and more recently the Buddhist center that she attends has started to talk too much about politics, and a lot of these things that we're having to contend with, whether it's climate change or the election, and this, the American election, even though they're in the UK, and COVID and stuff. And she's just stopped going, because that in itself is an abuse of Buddhist principles, to take a side or to get drawn. And some of the members of the center that she chants at, that she's studied at, they get really angry about things, about people not wearing masks and stuff. And that's not Buddhism at all. That's not true Buddhism.
Yep, you're right.
So,
I mean, I'll be even honest, like the OTO isn't even supposed to really associate itself with other organizations. So like even I saw it, even, them promoting BLM, I didn't even see as appropriate.
Right.
Regardless if it's for the right reason or the wrong reason. You just aren't supposed to be associated with that. You weren't supposed to be, talking about Antifa really either.
Right.
Shouldn't be promoting that either. You should just, it should just be the OTO, and that's it.
Right. And then, of course, you have a lot of these thinkers in places like the Pacific Northwest, Portland being one place where they have a high percentage of satanic temples. And throughout the summer, when I was following the riots, there were a lot of Antifa members who were showing themselves to be incredibly anti-Christian.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'll open up the phone again. Phone's open again, 650-429-8294. Calls have been coming in pretty quickly. Pretty interesting show, huh? Thanks for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Yo, you know what? One of the things, too, that had really, I guess, like freaked me out, too, and it just ends up getting political, is, that whole thing, why I think a lot of it is also involved with, like, a leftist ideology, is that whole, D to America symbol for Biden and Harris.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are all like, "Oh, that's the pentagram and the D."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's a pentagram and the D, but it's still not the same one anybody's thinking about.
So
that's when I was like, "No, I have to start to say something now, because it's blatant and in my face."
Interesting. Involved with the Biden campaign, huh?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Maybe you could get that D on the screen.
Okay.
Hello, I can't hear you again now.
Oh, can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Huh. We're dropping out.
Yeah, I hear you now.
Okay, you hear me now? Okay, let's see if the caller... Hey, caller, you there?
I sure am.
Okay, go ahead and ask your question.
All right. So here in Spokane, Washington, under a COVID emergency, the city council, they're pushing through fluoridation of our water, which we voted down 3 times. My thought is, like, since a majority of the United States, you know, they've been doing fluoridation for a while, and the connection to the pineal gland, and that pineal gland being, you know, the gateway to the afterlife. When people pass, like, from my understanding, you excrete a great amount of the dimethyltryptamine. And so, do you think that's a part of the, like, the satanic agenda, getting everybody to, like, be trapped in this realm, have that ability to excrete that DMT upon death, like, inhibited, to keep people in this, I guess you'd call it a low vibration realm?
Okay, I got the question. I think I'm going in and out with my guest. Are you still there?
Yeah. I just, unfortunately, I missed like the middle of the
That's
question.
okay. I'll tell you. He was just saying that where he's at in Spokane, Washington. We might have to wrap things up if we're having audio problems too much. But you lost me again, Nick? Or did we lose you?
Oh no.
Oh no.
It looks like we're losing him.
It's like the D in the Biden campaign has smashed this to pieces.
Yeah, now I can hear you again.
Oh, great.
Okay, well, we'll try.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Okay, caller, I'm going to ask him. I'm going to hang up on you and see if that helps. All right, so let's do that.
Thanks, caller.
And then, are you hearing me pretty clearly now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, all right. He was just saying they're trying to put fluoride in the water, and he's worried about them shutting down people's pineal gland, basically, because people say that fluoride calcifies your pineal gland, doesn't leave you open to things. What do you think about that? Do you think that's part of the plan?
I actually
is to
think
keep
that's
people...
totally possible. I by far think that's true, because I think it's the pineal gland that you're really using to kind of, like, you know, use to, you know, cross the abyss, kind of, or to be enlightened, at least, you know, like in a positive way.
Right.
And I think he went on something about trying to keep us down in, like, some negative energy form. I do believe it's hard to explain, but I do think that's kind of possible. I think what's going on right now is they're trying to, like, usher in some, like, new aeon or some new matrix, if you want to put it that way, or construction of how this world is going to work. And I think they're trying to, like, get us to be slaves to go along with that, or I hate to say, maybe even be harvested.
Wow.
Interesting. All right. We've had you on for a couple hours already. Do you have a second now for another phone call or anything? Or you want to wrap
as long as we don't get disconnected. I mean, we'll go.
Okay,
we'll go.
cool. Now the connection seems to be working okay again.
Yeah, that's great.
Let's go ahead and try to take another call. Let's see how this goes. 650-429-8294. We'll take another call. Thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for spending so much time with us today. It's really been fascinating.
Yeah, of course, man. I'm really surprised you even had me on. You don't really understand how much of, like, an honor I consider this, dude.
Oh, well, you know what? I thought
I don't listen to too many podcasts religiously, and, like, yours is one of them.
Oh, great. I really appreciate that. No, I mean, I never talked to anybody who was in OTO. I mean, this is fascinating. Hey, caller, you're on the air.
Hey, Nathan, how you doing?
Doing great.
Good. So first point I just wanted to make was, I know that it sounds like your website person has been looking into the UN. I highly suggest that they look into an organization called Seeds of Peace, which was formed by the UN, and it's really for kids coming from all over the world to create this sort of new world, and they do it in summer camp type fashion. So that's a cult in itself.
Wow. Damn.
Second to that, I just wanted to respond to one of the previous callers, and while I totally respect where she's coming from and felt that she came from the right place, I know some people in the chat didn't. I think it's a really important point to just say that, like, the bandwidth or the spectrum of, like, negative and positive isn't as black and white as evil and good. And, hearing someone automatically assume that anything that isn't, holy or Christ-like is evil is kind of, it's one of those things where people go to extremes when they have terrible situations like the one that she had experienced, and I feel for her there. But there are certain beings out there, I would assume, that just based on frequency would respond to someone. So you may be in this etheric realm and something will attack you just because of your frequency. It doesn't know you as good or bad, and it's not trying to attack you. It just doesn't even know any other way.
Right.
Yeah, it just does what it does. That's exactly it. It just does what it does. Yeah, you're right.
Totally. And this is directed towards the caller. So I just wanted to, I don't want to, have you put yourself on the spot here, but I was wondering if you could kind of give us an idea. I mean, I know that these organizations do seek out people with specific genetics. Often that could be Celtic or Italian. I mean, would you be willing to share what sort of genetic line you come from? Do you feel you were sought out by the organization, or did you seek them out?
I think I was, but I'm Italian and I have Irish in me also.
Okay, interesting.
But I mean, I don't think I was. I have blue eyes too. I don't know.
Hey, I mean, all that stuff kind of, it fits in this bigger context, right? Of like why they want certain people in the organization, what roles they might give them based on their genetic profiles. I think it all kind of ties in. So,
I think honestly, my opinion, I even think with Hitler's idea of the white people with blue eyes, that's totally a cult. That's the white pillar of the Kabbalah, and as far up as you can go before you go into the spirit form is a blue sphere called Chesed.
Yeah,
that would be a white pillar with a blue sphere. I mean, I don't know. That's what he wanted around too, right? People with blue eyes. Might be a coincidence, but it seems pretty, possible to me.
No, I mean, I don't think it's coincidence, but that's my opinion. Obviously, I have heard people talk about like higher dimensional beings that are actually negative. Some say they're Pleiadian, 12-dimensional Pleiadians or whatever. But no, I mean, I think you're right on. I think he was invoking something, and he clearly was associating with something out there, right? So,
if not him, at least Himmler was, because Himmler was deep into the occult stuff.
Right.
Yeah. So the last question I had was really just about simulation theory, because you did bring up you felt that they were kind of corralling us into a new type of matrix. And I guess my question for you is, do you subscribe to the idea that people at these higher levels of these occult organizations think that this is a simulation, therefore they can do whatever they want, almost like they're in a video game, so judgment is not in this video game, similar to like Westworld?
That is so funny, because that's when I was saying, I think when you can start twisting your meaning of thelema, when you get higher up and start dealing with this stuff, is exactly because of what you just said right there. I think
because a lot of people
it's almost as like
right?
a simulation, and it basically to them they're like, well, this world isn't really real. So like what we do here, like, is it really all that bad? It's just, it's like you said, a simulation. So I mean, if you killed somebody in The Sims, I mean, did they really die? It's just no.
Right. Yeah,
so,
no, I mean, I'm starting to believe that, there are a lot of people that subscribe to that idea, and I know that it's become super popular recently because of like Elon Musk and those guys, but it's definitely come to, it's been weird, right? Like the last couple of years, and I guess this is more posed towards Nathan. I mean, it's just the names that I'm seeing pop up, like even with Joe Robinette Biden. I mean, they bring it up on other channels, but there's just like a lot of things that just seem a bit suspect about this reality. And the last comment, I don't want to take up too much time, is, everyone makes such a huge deal about the one country in the Middle East that seems to be quoted as our ally, Israel. One thing I find weird about it is that if you break it down, people do say, oh yeah, it's ISIS, Rael, but then if you just break it down to its simple spelling, like, and it's not spelled correctly, but phonetically is real. Like they're trying to convince us it's real. And I'm just like, oh damn, okay. Like,
I even think liberal is even meant like that. Lie, be real. You're making the people think the lie is real.
Yeah. Strange times, man. Thank you for your testimony.
Definitely. I
appreciate you guys.
Call. Hey, thanks for the call. Interesting.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Oh, this is good.
Hello?
It's a good show. Yeah, good.
Yeah, I was going to throw in there, not to bring up another, person, but I don't know about the whole reptilian agenda, but I do think David Icke is actually very close to kind of explaining the truth behind occultism and what really is going on. with that whole Saturn Moon Matrix thing, I really do think he's very close to actually getting out some of the truth with that. He might be a little off in certain aspects, but I think he's very close. And I have to say, I did like him prior. I thought he was a little bit too far out there, so it's not even like I'm a huge fan where I'm trying to like push him, because I even used to think like, he's got some good things, but he's like a little far out there. But once I started getting into this stuff more and having deeper experiences, I was like, damn, maybe David Icke was right.
Right. Right. Well, he's been right about a lot of things. That's for sure.
Yeah, it was funny because when I thought that, I've even seen like, I think there might even be Facebook groups called David Icke was right, and I was like, fuck, maybe he was right. Damn it.
That's a good one.
All right, I'm feeling lucky, and I'm going to take one more phone call, and then we're going to wrap this up and just say it was an epic interview. And it was an epic show, we're leaving it up. It's available for free on the internet, on YouTube, it's going to be on BitChute. It's going to be on the podcast shortly. We're going to make it fully available to everybody. If you'd like to support the show, normally the entire show is not broadcast free for everybody. Subscribe to lifttheveil411.com. That's all I can say. Now I'll take the call.
Come back to it.
All right. Hey, you're on the air.
Hey, Nathan, it's Bane Bear.
Hey, Bane Bear, what's up?
Not much. I'm glad I got to catch you before Christmas so I could wish you and your lady friend a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Thank you, and the same to you. Merry Christmas.
Thank you very much. Would you allow me 1 minute to spread just a little bit of positivity?
Maybe. Yes.
Maybe. Okay. Well, obviously, I'm a member of the bear community, and less than a week ago or so, we created an app. When I say we, obviously, I mean the bears in general. I didn't actually help with it, but it's called Beartaria Times, and let me tell you something. It's the cleanest corner of the internet.
All right. No, we can't promote that right now. Did you have any questions for our guest, sir?
No, I was going to all
Thank you. All right. No, we don't want to talk about
Thanks, Bane Bear.
Thanks, Bane Bear. We appreciate you, but that's not what this show's for. All right, and I have one other person to talk to you. Let's see if this works. Okay, this is actually the person who does our website for us, who looks in the UN. Hey, Harry, you there?
Yeah, man.
Can you two hear each other?
I can hear him.
You can hear him? Can you hear my guest? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Go ahead and talk to each other.
Good.
Yes, go ahead.
Hey.
Hey, how are
Well,
you?
let me just explain. I hadn't been listening to the show, unfortunately. But Katie told me that you're on and gave me a little bit of a kind of insight into what you guys have been talking about. So I don't know if it'll be that much of a beneficial conversation, but I've done a lot of study into Blavatsky and the United Nations, and I guess their definitions of Luciferianism. I haven't had any experience of OTO. So that's where we might not, I can't really add to that conversation. But yeah.
Did you have anything?
I think there's some kind of, I'm not fluent in either, but I just got the impression that there'd be some kind of crossover, and then
for sure. I mean, Crowley considered Blavatsky, he held her in high regard, and even though she wasn't even a member of the Astrum Argentum, he considered her a grade in it. And, it was one of the higher grades. He considered her to be, that degree, even though she wasn't even in the order. So, I mean, there had to be something probably going on between the two.
Yeah, that kind of overlapping is really intriguing for me.
I mean, in Crowley,
how the systems
Blavatsky
fit together is interesting.
Oh, they're both big on the Kabbalah. Blavatsky, the Nazis were influenced by that. Crowley supposedly might have had something to do with them, and the peace symbol, or the victory symbol, that he gave that to Churchill.
Mm-hmm.
The V
Yeah.
that you're making is actually a position that you're doing in a ritual,
Right.
and it's called the destroyer, Apophis in Typhon. It's basically the beast of the destroyer.
Mm-hmm.
The sign that you're doing with your body before you make that is actually a swastika. So, and he was saying that this symbol will destroy the other one, and he gave that to Churchill. So, I mean, they were both both involved in the war too. Maybe just different sides are playing each side.
Well, the swastika, and the kind of religious, I guess, metaphysical relevance of it. My interest is it kind of links into the United Nations and how it's shaping policies today, especially with Agenda 2030. That a lot of Blavatsky's revelations were a genderless, nationless, borderless world, and then that work kind of got twisted by Hitler, as you said. And I wonder if Alice Bailey, who was the part of the United Nations Lucius Trust Theosophy strain, whether that that basically, in my eyes, is kind of what the United Nations is up to, and whether Alice Bailey perverted theosophy in a similar way to Hitler, and we are reliving a kind of new age fascist movement. That's kind of my area of interest at the moment.
Yeah,
Wow.
I was telling one of my friends today that I feel that we're almost kind of going through like a different version of what was going on then right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's to two totally different extremes, but I mean, then you had the Jews, their racism stuff was being done to them. Now it's on a smaller scale. All of a sudden, now out of nowhere, America's racist against black people, and now you got everybody's getting masks thrown on them. So it's like almost like, in a smaller version, but I think it's working better in controlling people.
Right.
My read on the current situation is that the United Nations is currently attempting a regime change, stroke global takeover. I think there's other strains of political will coming from a pan-Eurasia movement, which is a Israeli, China, Russia movement, I believe. And the United Nations have attacked Israel and Jews, as in Hitler, all that type of stuff. The UN has attacked Jews from its conception. So there looks to be the two dualistic forces that I see that shape geopolitics.
Well, I don't get it, but I understand. I think I know what's going on with it.
Well, the
thanks, Harry.
The Pan-Eurasia movement is just the Dugan theory of a supremacist movement. It's based on human supremacy, and the links to Alex Jones, as in Dugan facilitated. Well, they had a kind of meeting, and there's basically a similarity between the two.
Mm-hmm.
And the Russian element, or in the conspiracy theory of QAnon, is that the Russians are behind the Pan-Eurasian movement,
right?
And it's a human supremacist movement, opposed to the UN, which is a human equality movement. And I think they're the two choices that I can see at the moment.
Cool. Hey, thanks, Harry.
For the future.
Thanks, man. All right.
Well,
cool.
That's a much bigger topic to go into. I just thought it was interesting that there's definitely overlap, and this occult philosophy has a broader picture.
Right, exactly. All right, great. I think it was great. I think it was great having you on, and people can find you at NYPatriot 1978 anywhere, right? What is that, on Twitter, on podcast?
Did we lose the guest?
Did I lose him again? All right, let's see if I can.
Hello?
Hey,
hello?
sorry.
Yeah,
hey, I was just saying where people can find you. It's at NYPatriot 1978 on Twitter, podcast.
Spotify, Apple.
Cool.
YouTube.
Great.
Yes.
Well, thanks for coming on. I mean, it's been
Thank you so much.
I really appreciate it.
It was an honor, actually.
Well, I appreciate it. No, it's really really a pretty epic show. All right, man. Well, thanks for coming on. We'll stay in touch.
All right, be good, brother.
All right, talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
All right, see ya. All right, and thank you everybody for tuning in. I'll go over to DLive for just a second. So if people want to tune over to DLive, that's where I do my show every day. DLive.tv/lifttheveil. It goes on a little after 5 p.m. Pacific time, almost daily, with me and my wife and callers. And then sometimes the show will appear on YouTube in some form. But if you want to get the full shows, unedited and uncensored, those are available at lifttheveil411.com. I kept getting phone calls when I was saying that. Lifttheveil411.com. That's the website where everything is. And I hope everybody is going to have a great Christmas. And until the next time I see you on YouTube. So that's it for YouTube. We'll go over to DLive for a minute just to wrap things up. DLive.tv/lifttheveil. Good seeing everybody again. Thank you again to our guest. And let me find where I shut down YouTube. And that is what it is. And YouTube.